So, we've gotten a good bit of news about Spider-Man 2 in the past 2 weeks. I could have covered it in a video, but it was kind of a lot of different stuff, and honestly, I figured it'd be better for y'all to see that for yourselves as opposed to me trying to tell you what all was going on, because look, it was very, very hype, alright? Look, just go look at it. I'm pretty sure you have. If you're watching my channel, I'm sure you've seen all the news of Spider-Man 2. So, now would be a pretty good time to revisit what has led up to Spider-Man 2. For those of you who need a refresher, or those of you who couldn't play the game, sorry Xbox, I'm going to provide you all with a refresher course to catch you up on everything that's happened thus far. This first video is going to cover the events of the prequel novel Hostile Takeover. To be fair, it's been a while since I read this book, so I had to do some research to get a refresher for myself. First and foremost, it basically provides nuggets of information about Insomniac Spider-Man's crew that led up to that first mission in the game. So, with that said, let's get started. Now, we start out seeing Spidey respond to an alert about a robbery at a snake store. Spidey gets there, stops the guy, and before bringing him in, is informed by the robber that he works with Scorpion and that he knows where Scorpion's hideout is. This, of course, sends Spidey to that location where he comes to blows with a mysterious individual who pretty much is wanting to throw hands right away. The crazy part is, he's able to match and copy Spider-Man's moves. Initially when I read this, I thought, is this Taskmaster? Because you know Taskmaster is in the game. But the book kind of throws you for a loop on this one. So yeah, the combatant gets away and Spider-Man returns to where he left the robber, only to find out that the man is now dead. It's here where he runs into and meets Yuri Watanabe for the first time. She holds a gun on him, but doesn't really threaten him because she knows he didn't do it. She had already seen some footage of what happened. The robber had been shot while Spidey was headed to the location. Spidey and Yuri talk, and he tells her about the location, and she basically tells him that it's a construction site owned by Fisk. Now, if you played the game, you'll pretty much know all about these construction sites. We spend a lot of time at them. But anyway, this information pretty much puts Fisk square on Spidey and Yuri's radar. Spidey had already suspected Fisk of being the kingpin, but of course, as always, Fisk has the newspapers and the cops on his payroll, so they never really could get solid evidence. Also, side note, MJ mentions in the game that Spidey has fought Fisk a few times, so I'm assuming that just out of common sense, Peter had pretty much figured that Fisk was Kingpin. They don't address this too much in the book, in the game. Obviously the game's not going to reference this specific hunch, really, but it's just kind of something I thought about while reviewing the book. Now, Fisk himself had been out of the country for a few years and had finally decided to come back the year before this book started. He started a new charity that was aimed at improving the lives of civilians in New York. Spidey later finds out from Harry that Mary Jane is auditioning for the Daily Bugle. This will be important later on to the story, so keep that in mind. And side note, I'm not a fan of reporter MJ. I don't know, I guess I'm just an old school fan. MJ being a hot model and actress just kind of fits her character to me. She wasn't an idiot or anything like that either. She was smart and hot. You can be both. But anyway, we see that Fisk has an adoptive daughter of sorts named Maya Lopez. You hardcore Marvel fans should recognize that name immediately. She appeared in a Disney Plus show a year or so ago. Hawkeye, to be exact. But yeah, we see her training and she's a very capable fighter. The book mentions that she thinks very highly of Fisk as well. It says that he saved her. I'm sure we all know what's really going on there. We know that's either not true or not the whole truth. Of course, the book is going to address that. Now, Maya hacks into the security system and sees Fisk watching some footage of a fight. When she confronts him about it, he tells her that the person who killed her father was Spider-Man, and that the footage she was watching was of Spider-Man fighting this mystery combatant, who we now know is named Michael Bingham. When she asks how he's able to match Spidey's movements, he tells her that they experimented on Bingham, because that's what Fisk does. Ain't that right, Felicia from the 90s? And Alistair Smythe from the 90s? And Spot from the 90s? Wait, no, he did that to himself. Well, you get the point. Fisk experimented on a lot of people in the 90s, okay? Now, we get back to Peter, and he's at work at the lab. Well, he's at work, but he's knocked out asleep from all the heroing. He's woken up by this really annoying dude named Theodore Payton, who luckily doesn't appear in the game and will not really be mentioned again in this review, because I vividly remember how agitating this character was, so I'm glad he wasn't in the game. But we see the early signs of what will eventually be a big plot point in the game, as Peter is working on some functional prosthetic limbs. We also are introduced to Peter's exotic new co-worker, Anika Adhikari. I got the name right on the first try, people. So now we get to Mary Jane. This book is pretty much the onset of what I would say, in my opinion, is the more annoying thing about this version of MJ. So firstly, as I said earlier, she wants to work for the Bugle. And to do so, she wants to do an interview with Fisk about his crime allegations. Which Robbie is like, nah, I don't think so. So she's assigned a puff piece on him instead. But this still causes Peter to worry, which who can blame him? Now, Echo, I'm sorry, that's not her name yet on here. Maya Lopez manages to track down Bingham and sees him stick somebody to a wall. How he did that, I'm not sure, because I don't think the book specifies. But in any case, she asks him why he's pretending to be Spider-Man, and he tells her that he is Spider-Man. We know where this is going, don't we? Yeah, we do. Pete later meets MJ at a sandwich shop for dinner. I think this may be Stan's shop. You know what? Actually, no, it's not, because of what happens later on in the story. So it's just some random spot that they go to for dinner. But their dinner is interrupted when Yuri calls Peter to meet her. So Peter leaves and Spidey goes to meet Yuri on the rooftop, which is what they do. And she tells him that she needs a file from Fisk's tower. So, of course, Spider-Man sneaks in and gets the file she's looking for. While doing so, he hears Fisk talking to Maya. In order to not get caught, he webs up a camera. Keep that in mind. When he can't quite tell what they're saying, he heads out. But he did manage to catch the name Maya, which he gives to Yuri to investigate. Unfortunately for Spidey, Maya also notices the webbing he left behind on the camera, which apparently sets her off. By the way, before I forget, in case you don't know anything about Maya, she's deaf. So usually in these situations, especially like with comics and everything, characters who are missing a sense have honed their other senses. Now, I don't know if she has like this super eyesight or anything like that, but she's very perceptive, I'll say that. Pete heads to Feast to meet Aunt May and is introduced to Martin Lee. I don't have to tell you that he's a big part of the game, right? Okay. MJ, being the lowest lane that she is now, goes to Fisk's tower to investigate Fisk, even though she was told not to. Maya comes across her and they kind of exchange words, but she kind of is on her own thing right now. She leaves the tower and meets J. Jonah Jameson. He wants to take Spider-Man down, of course, because that's what Jameson does. And so does Maya, for vengeance reasons, of course. So they join forces. She and Fisk give JJ his own radio show to reach more people. Important info for the game as well, because as you know, in the first game, Jameson's not with the Bugle. He has a podcast. And yes, I know I just said he has a radio show, but we'll get to that. MJ finds out in her interview with Fisk that Lee has been getting funding from Fisk for Feast. After MJ leaves, Maya returns and Bingham barges into Fisk's office, which of course pisses him off because he doesn't want to show his true self in front of Maya. In other words, if he was his true self, he probably would have broken Bingham in half. But Maya sees him as some nice philanthropist or something along those lines. So yeah, he has to keep his image. But he does notice something. Bingham is aware of Maya being deaf, which obviously he shouldn't know because Bingham allegedly is just meeting Maya. So of course Fisk kind of notates that, and we know that Bingham met Maya earlier when she confronted him about why he was trying to be Spider-Man. So later on at the sandwich shop, again, because they spend a lot of time at this sandwich shop, Peter and MJ have dinner again, but they are again interrupted by a hostage situation somewhere else. Unbeknownst to Peter, as he runs off, his co-worker and Nika have followed him and MJ to the shop. Now again, this is going off of like a review of the book that I kind of looked up. I remember reading this, and I remember Peter kind of having a conversation with Anika. I believe he was trying to get her to, I think, like branch out, get out of her shell a little bit. It's been a while. It's been like a year or two since I read this book, but I'm pretty sure it was something along those lines, and that's why she happened to follow Peter and MJ to this shop. Now, the hostage situation was a diversion, and Shocker bursts into the shop that Peter just left, the sandwich shop, that is. He's then confronted by Bingham dressed as Spider-Man. Bingham mentions, again, dressed as Spider-Man, keep that in mind. Bingham mentions that he doesn't care if there are a few hostages that get hurt as long as he gets Shocker. They have a fake fight, and the sandwich shop ends up getting destroyed in an explosion, which kills several people, including Anika. Bingham meets Fisk later, who tells him that it was risky and sloppy. Bingham ignores him and goes on about his business. Now, Spidey, who is obviously very upset about what happened, decides to track down Shocker and ends up at the bar with no name. He notices Electro and Scorpion there and decides to ask him about Shocker. Electro ends up taking him right to Shocker, who is apparently not in his outfit. We find out that Shocker's outfit was apparently stolen a month earlier. Spidey manages to track down the fake Shocker, only to find out he's an actor who claims to have not known anything about the bombs to begin with. MJ is called to return to Fisk's tower due to her writing something negative about Fisk. Well, pretty sure she knew that was going to happen, right? But he actually offers her a job if she plays her cards right, and of course she turns that down. She does notice that security has been bumped up at the tower, which she does inform Peter of though. Maya later meets with JJJ again, who tells her he knows that Fisk is funding the show and that he will leave and start a podcast of his own because he doesn't want Fisk's money. Seriously, in all seriousness, that's actually pretty accurate. Jonah is not one of those who will take like criminal money or anything like that. And I don't know, I guess that begs the question, is Jonah aware that Fisk is Kingpin? Because they really don't like delve into that. But in any case, Maya decides to take on her new Echo persona and go after Spidey. She finds him and they fight, and he notices that she's able to match his movements pretty well, but she's not super strong either. After the skirmish, Spidey tells MJ about Echo and recognizes her description from when she went to Fisk's tower that first time and saw Maya. Peter wants MJ to stop investigating Fisk due to the danger, and she of course is annoyed. See, this is the issue that I have with this MJ. She gets pissed at Peter for being concerned that she's doing dangerous crap. I'll tackle that one more once we get to the game. Now, Peter, MJ, and Harry go out for dinner one more time before Harry leaves for Europe, and Pete can tell Harry isn't telling them something. This is also pretty much, I think, the last time Peter, MJ, and us as the viewers see Harry again until probably the post-credit scene of the first game. So that's helpful to know. And of course, again, the book alludes to Harry not telling them something. Again, I'll address that when we get to the video about the game. Peter and MJ meet up later and find out that Fisk is the one who killed Maya's father. Big surprise, huh? They also find out that Fisk is blackmailing the assistant district attorney, so Spider-Man goes to his apartment but really can't find any reliable evidence. Later, Spidey finds out that the robber was lying about working with Scorpion in the beginning of the book, and that he was actually working for someone else. Yuri calls and informs Spidey that the assistant DA is dead and that there is webbing at the apartment. They also find out that Bingham is being used as a distraction to keep their attention from Fisk. MJ informs Spidey a few days later that she's attending a fundraiser being held by Fisk, which later becomes an issue because Yuri tells Spidey that the fundraiser is going to be hit by Tombstone. Due to the fact that MJ is going to be there, Peter tries to call and warn her about the situation, but she wants to go anyway.
What? What the fuck?
This MJ, I'm just shaking my head. Okay, Spidey patrols the fundraiser and sees guns firing. When he attempts to stop it, he realizes that he's been set up as the guns were being held by people dressed as police officers. So basically it makes him look bad. Afterwards, he's informed by Yuri that they were set up and they should take it easy for a bit. MJ, who is pissed at Peter for reacting to the situation the way he did, and for constantly trying to look after her by telling her not to investigate Fisk, breaks up with Peter. Alright, look, damn it, are y'all hearing this? This is the MJ that some people want to defend, right? Come on. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's better than the Raimi MJ and the current comic MJ, but damn! Is it not irritating y'all? Like, she's pissed that he wants to keep her safe. That's not even logical. She gets herself in dangerous situations, not in this book, but in the game, and she's pissed for him being overprotective. Okay. Alright, yeah, I guess this MJ hasn't seen Netflix Daredevil, because if she had, she would know what happens to reporters who get on Fisk's bad side. It's ridiculous. It really is. I don't get it. And I know MJ's supposed to be a strong character and everything, but it's just certain things that should be common sense. Anyway, I'll rant more about that when I cover the events of the game. Now, Peter spends the next few months depressed until MJ decides she wants to come over and give him a pep talk. By the way, during this time, he did manage to put Electro and Scorpion in a raft, so depressed Insomniac Spidey is still on his game. I'm looking at you, Toby. Spidey has another encounter with Echo and convinces her that he did not kill her father. They infiltrate one of Fisk's buildings and steal a jump drive that has blackmail Fisk was using against Norman Osborn. But when they arrive, they find Fisk and Bingham, who is now calling himself the Blood Spider. They have a big brawl and Spidey and Echo escape. We then find out that Bingham, or Blood Spider, is working for Osborn. We also find out that Oscorp gave Bingham his abilities. Later, at an event that would name Fisk as Commissioner of Finance, Spidey battles Blood Spider once again for the thumb drive, and actually defeats him this time. Fisk is taken into custody by the police. Don't worry, that's not really gonna hold. And the thumb drive is actually destroyed by Echo. She then gives him a file with dirt on Fisk's operations, which Spidey then gives to Yuri. Now, months later, Yuri is promoted to captain. Pete wakes up to a police scanner alert about a raid on Fisk Tower, and BAM! We are at the beginning of the game. This took longer than I thought it would. I skipped certain aspects of the book, like Bingham's backstory and some of the stuff about Norman, but you basically got all the important info. I think the raid on Fisk Tower was almost definitely thanks to Echo's file, so that's a cool bit of info to know. The next video will be covering the first half of Marvel Spider-Man, so be on the lookout for that. Hit that like button if you liked the video, drop a comment to let me know what you thought of the prequel novel, hit that subscribe button please, and remember, we have the high ground. Catch you later.